everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. It's the beginning of September, which means it's now time to do a end of August update and also talk a little bit about what my plans are going into September. So I'm going to start off with talking about what I worked on for Magical Stitches. There are a couple things that I pulled out specifically for Magical Stitches homework or extra credit, and we will discuss that. If you don't know, Magical Stitches is a Facebook group that is Harry Potter themed, and right now each book is lasting for 2 months, so every 2 months the book that we are focusing on changes. So year 5, which is book 5, just ended, and we are now going into year 6, book 6. So excited about that. I am a Hufflepuff. Every year we seem to lose point-wise. We always have, it's usually between us and Gryffindor as to who's going to be last, it seems like. So we will see how we do for year 5, because that should be graded. Hopefully I'll add it up and everything soon, but there's a lot of things at the end that need to be added up, because there's the books, the extra credit, there is book extra credits. There's a lot of stuff. Lots going on in there. If you aren't in there, it's fun. So for one of the homeworks, we had to make a whip list at the beginning of year 5. And on that list, it had to have projects that we would be willing to work on if they were assigned to us for that week's homework. So number 1 on my list was Pinocchio Wishes Upon a Star, and that was picked for me to work on the whip one. Pinocchio Wishes Upon a Star is not my favorite thing to work on. If you are new here, you will quickly learn that. So this is a Thomas Kincaid artwork, and it's an MCG Textiles kit. This is where I got to working on it for homework. I worked only on the sky parts, and it was just filling in this dark pink and this light pink, so it was pretty easy. It didn't take that long to do, and I didn't mind it. The areas that I don't like working on this chart is mainly where there's lots of details. So this area here is going to have some ships, and then there's also going to be the island in this area where I think it's okay. In the movie Pinocchio, there's the island where the boys are sent to and they're turned into donkeys, I think it is. I think that island is in here somewhere, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not looking forward to stitching that, just because there's a lot of half stitches and quarter stitches to show the details, and then there's lots of colors and a really small area. I don't like doing that on this 18 count Ada. For one thing, it seems like I'm pretty sure this is 18 count, and so when you're doing the quarter stitches, you have to split the Ada, obviously, and then because it's 18 count, the squares are smaller than if you were doing it on 14 or 16 count, so it kind of seems like it's really squished in and tight when you're doing quarter stitches and back stitching and everything, and the squares. I don't know if that explains very clearly, but yeah. So I did that for homework, and then for homework, I think it was last week, we had to make a list of 5 projects, and then the headmistress of the group would spin a tiny decision wheel that would pick which number whip you were going to work on. Hufflepuff's, our whip that was picked was number 2, which for me, the second project on my list that I made was Fantastic Voyage by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and this is it. When I first started stitching on this piece at the beginning of the year, I was working along the bottom. This bottom thing here is the bottom row of pages. They're only 18 stitches tall, I think, 18, something like that. And I got tired of working on the border though, so I decided that for the homework I would stitch on a new page, which is this page here. This is being stitched on a 28 count easy count, and I'm doing this one 2/1 10 stitch. And I think we had to do, it was 500 stitches, but 10 stitches you have to do double the amount because it's a half stitch, so I did 1,000 stitches on this. I love it. Love it. I cannot wait to work on this more and hopefully finish that page one day. I have no idea when. And then for Magical Stitches, there was an extra credit where you needed to do 500 stitches on your largest whip. My largest whip, without a doubt, is my supersize max color Eternal Promise by Matt Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. So this is what I did. I pulled it out for the extra credit. This is page 2. I'm only on page 2 of the chart, and I started this probably a year or 2 ago. I'd have to look it up. And I did 500 stitches on this for extra credit, and then I did, I think, 200 stitches on it for one of the homework assignment where we made the list of 5, because you were assigned one thing to do 500 stitches on, but then you could get extra points by doing 200 stitches on the other projects on your list. So this was one of the projects on my list, so I did the 200 stitches to get extra points. And I think I'm about halfway done with page 2 now, and I'm excited because at the bottom corner here is going to be the dark area where the trees and like the foresty area is going to start, which I am so tired of working on these colors. Like these light colors really blend into the fabric when like they're by themselves. If you're doing like confetti stitches like right in there, they can just kind of blend in. This is also 28 count easy count because I like 28 count the most for full coverages. And this one though is 1/1 full cross, so I don't have to do double stitches on it for homework, which is exciting. Yes, double stitches is not that fun sometimes. So I did that for magical stitches. And then I will show my goal project for the year is I want to complete one of my charts. And the chart that I had picked was the Toy Box by Donna Gelsinger, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. To finish it by the end of the year, I have to do 300 stitches a day or 2,100 stitches in a week. So here's where I am. Since my last video, I finished the page that I was working on up here. I needed to have it finished by August 25th, and that would mean that I was still doing my 300 stitches a day. I did finish it. I actually had finished this page basically by August 23rd, I think it was, but I had 20 stitches in one color and I ran out of the color. So I didn't get the color until it was exactly on the 25th. I went to Joann's because they were having the 30% off your entire purchase, and I got floss for the 3 charts that I bought in my last video you saw. And so I got that color, I finished the page, and I had already started working on this page though. So the page down here needs to be finished by September 17th, and that will mean that I'm still on track for my finish by Christmas deadline. So on this page, I'm kind of going back and forth between the bricks and this light color down here because this light color down here is really hard to see at night. And so I like to work on this part at night. And this is being stitched on 28 count 2/1 tent stitch. So tent stitch goes pretty fast, so I'm hoping that I can easily continue meeting my goal. And then something that I started working on is it was the chart that broke my No New Starts 2019, and that is the Tiny Modernist Christmas Village Stitch Along. Since my last video, I had finished the border of the charts, and then part 1 came out. It's scheduled to where they're supposed to come out at the beginning of the month. There's 4 parts, so it's September 1st, October 1st, November 1st, December 1st. The first part I had pre-ordered, and it came out Friday, so I think that was the 30th, August 30th. It came out a couple days early, and I have started that. I am stitching this on 18 count Ada from Picture This Plus in the color Herald, and I had some issues with this chart. I would be a lot farther along right now if I didn't have issues, so I will explain the issue. Is the words on the chart, it says, what's it gonna say? Pick out your tree and fill it with lights is I think what it says, because this part up here is going to be a Christmas tree farm. So it's charted in this color right here, which is 3848. I started stitching in this color and I had pick done, and I sent a picture to my sister and I was like, this blends into the fabric, doesn't it? And she was like, yeah, it's going to need to be done in a different color. So then I started trying to do it in this other color that is in the charts already. That is 959 or 959, I think, which is this color. I started doing it, and at first it looked like it was going to be fine, but then when you actually stood back away from it, you couldn't see it from far away. So then I was like, all right, I'll pick that out, and then I will find something else. I considered doing it in 747, but then I started stitching with 747 in here, and it basically looks white once you start stitching with it. So I was like, all right, I don't want the words to just be white because the border's already in white, so I don't want to do that. So then I started stitching it in gold metallic that I had left over from Death by Cross Stitch. I started stitching it with one strand first because I'm actually stitching all of this with one strand because I don't like it when it's too bulky. And I didn't like the coverage with that, so then I started stitching the gold with two strands, thinking maybe that would be better, but I still was not liking it, and so I was just like, I'll rip it out again, it's fine, I have nothing else to do, you know, what else could I possibly have to do? And so I went through my DMC, like my stash of floss, and I was trying to find something that was similar in tone to this color here, that's kind of like bluishy, greenishy color, but darker or lighter. So I was trying to find something like that, and I found DMC 3808, which is here, and I think that it still kind of sticks with the colors that they were going for, but a slightly darker version of it. So that's what I'm doing. So anywhere, I think I'm gonna just take this off the floss card, the 3848, and I'll probably just stick this one on here, and anywhere that calls for 3848, I will be stitching in 3808. So those words have been a major pain in the butt. So moving on from that, once I finish part one of the Tiny Modernist Christmas Village, my plan is to start Templar Prophecy by Long Dog Samplers. I am so excited! So excited. I wanted to start this for so long. I know that my sister she's gonna start it with me. She is living in Colorado. Some people might see her at some of the stitch-ins. She lives in the Denver area, and she is going to be starting this too, and her fabric actually never came in. It was a Picture This Plus fabric. I think the color was, it was a purple. It was French something. French lavender, French lilac, something French, and it was a purple. It never came in. She hasn't gotten any messages, so she actually dyed fabric so she can stitch it. We are now in the fabric dyeing loving club. She dyed the fabric. She was like, I love dyeing it, dye all the things, and that's kind of how I feel after I dyed the fabric for mine. So that will be started in September. And then also in September, I will be working on kitting up my October start. And so in my last video, I had done voting to see which chart to start in October, and it was between Game of Thrones, Sailor Moon, and Rainbow Basin, which are all Tilton Crafts charts. And Game of Thrones had 10 votes, and it was the winner. Sailor Moon came in second with 7 votes, and Rainbow came in last with 6 votes. So I'm going to start Game of Thrones in October, and then the next chart would be Sailor Moon, and so I'm going to focus on kitting those up. I have all the floss that I bought at Joann's for all of the charts. I think I have almost all the colors. They were out of a few colors, so I need to make a list and get the rest of those. But I have started kitting up Game of Thrones. We will show that real quick. Is this Game of Thrones yet? I have too many projects. So this is Game of Thrones. Okay. Made floss cards for it. The floss cards have, they say GOT. They're 1 of 5 cards because there are going to be 5 floss cards. And then I printed out the symbols and taped them on with the DMC color name. So then I just have to cut the floss and put it onto my things. I'm not sure if I'm going to be stitching Game of Thrones full cross or tent stitch yet, so I cut them longer than I normally would. If I do tent stitch, I will be doing loop start, so I'm going to want them longer. If I'm doing 1 over 1 full cross, because I'm going to use 28 count. I already have the 28 count fabric. I got that already. So I just don't know. If I do 1 over 1 full cross, I'll probably have to cut these lengths in half because they are very long right now. But I'm getting ready. So ready for October. And then that kind of takes me into yesterday. I was at my parents' house and I was making floss cards for Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon floss cards are here. I had brought all of my floss with me in case I wanted to start putting them on the cards. And my brother is a photographer, and we started joking about taking cross-stitch pictures. So if you saw on my Instagram, I have pictures cross-stitching in a way that you would totally cross-stitch. You would totally cross-stitch laying down on your stomach with a bottle of wine and floss surrounding you. So yeah, that's something that happened. That's like a picture for like my funeral. Like if I die, a picture of me professionally done cross-stitching is the picture that should be used at my funeral. Anyways, so I think that is all that I have to talk about right now cross stitch wise, and hopefully I can finish this without any more frogging. And I will see everyone in my next video. Bye everyone!